Principal Velthrix sat behind his desk made of frozen light. His body was tall and thin, covered in skin that looked like blue crystal. He did not move much. He did not need to. The data floated in front of his eyes, showing him everything he needed to know about the human girl. Kira Chun, 17 Earth years old. The first human student at the Galactic Integration Academy. She had been here for only 4 months, and already her file was thick with problems. Velthrix tapped one long finger against his desk. The Academy had existed for 400 years. In all that time, they had taught students from over 200 different species. They had never had trouble like this. He read through the list again. First incident. A small hole appeared in the wall of Dormitory 7. Air began to escape into space. The other students ran to the emergency pods, screaming in fear. The human girl did not run. She pressed her hand against the hole and held it there. She held her breath for 3 full minutes until the repair robots arrived. The other students were traumatized. They had never seen anyone do something so impossible. Second incident. The human girl was late for her galactic history class. Instead of walking, she ran through the corridor. A group of Malvery students saw her coming. They saw a predator rushing toward them with wild eyes and swinging arms. 2 of them fainted. One of them had to visit the medical bay for shock treatment. Third incident. The human girl ate lunch in the cafeteria. She chose a piece of fruit from a planet called Varix 4. The fruit contained something called capsaicin. To most species, this chemical was a deadly poison. To humans, it was just a spice. But when the human girl bit into the fruit, the chemical sensors in the cafeteria detected poison in her mouth. The entire building went into lockdown. 300 students were evacuated. The human girl sat alone at her table, confused, still holding the fruit. Fourth incident. This one was the worst. A small student named Fenry was being pushed around by 3 larger students. Fenry was a Fanari, a species that looked like small moths with soft fur and big eyes. The 3 bullies were Krethvani, a species with hard shells and sharp claws. They were calling Fanri names. They were threatening to tear off Fenry's wings. The human girl saw this happening. She walked over to them. She did not run this time. She walked slowly, and somehow that was worse. She stood between Fenry and the bullies. She looked at the Krethvani with her small forward-facing eyes, the eyes of a predator. Then she pulled back her lips and showed them her teeth. On Earth, this was called a smile. To the Krethvani, it was the most terrifying thing they had ever seen. A Deathworld creature, bearing its fangs, ready to attack. They ran away so fast that one of them cracked his shell against the wall. The human girl turned to Fenry with that same smile. She asked if Fenry was okay. Fenry was so scared that the little Fanari could not speak. Velthrix closed the file. He had seen enough. The human girl was sitting outside his office right now. She did not know why she had been called here. She probably thought she was going to receive another warning. Another lecture about being careful around other species. She was wrong. Velthrix pressed a button on his desk. The door opened, and 2 security officers brought the human girl inside. She was short by galactic standards, with dark hair and brown skin. Her eyes were bright and curious. She looked around the office with interest, not fear. This annoyed Velthrix. She should be afraid. She was standing in front of the most powerful person at the Academy. But humans came from a death world, a planet so dangerous that most species could not survive there for even 1 day. They did not understand fear the way normal species did. This was exactly the problem. Kira-chan smiled at him. There were those teeth again. Principal Velthrix, is something wrong? He did not smile back. His species did not smile. Miss Chun, I have reviewed your file. I have consulted with the Academy Board. We have made a decision about your future here. Her smile faded a little. A decision? What kind of decision? You are being expelled from the Galactic Integration Academy. Effective immediately. The human girl stared at him. For a moment, she did not move. Then she shook her head. I don't understand. Expelled? Why? You are a biological hazard to the other students. Your presence here creates an unsafe learning environment. Protocol 7 of the Academy Charter allows me to remove any student who poses a danger to others. But I haven't hurt anyone. I saved people during the hull breach. I stopped those bullies from hurting Fenry. How is that being dangerous? Velthrix felt his crystal skin grow cold. This was why he did not like humans. They always argued. They always thought they were right. Your actions, while perhaps well-intentioned, have caused fear and distress among the student body. Several students have requested transfers because of you. The Movari delegation has filed a formal complaint. Kira stepped forward. The security officers grabbed her arms, but she did not seem to notice. This isn't fair. I've tried so hard to fit in. I've been careful. I've followed all the rules. The rules were not designed for Deathworld species. Velthrix stood up. He was much taller than her now. You do not belong here, Miss Chun. Perhaps you never did. He saw something in her eyes then. Not fear. Something else. Something that made him uncomfortable. She was looking at him like she could see through his crystal skin and into the cold heart beneath. You're making a mistake, she said quietly. I do not make mistakes. I follow protocol. He turned away from her. Remove her from the station. Destroy her belongings. They may be contaminated. Kira struggled against the security officers. You can't do this. I have rights. Earth has treaties with the Concord. You have to contact my parents. You have to tell someone. But Velthrix was no longer listening. He sat back down at his desk and opened another file. The human girl was already forgotten. She was just one student out of thousands. One small problem that he had solved. The security officers dragged her out of the office. Her voice echoed down the corridor, asking questions that no one answered. Within 1 hour, she was on a transport ship heading for the way station Drift 7. She had nothing but the clothes she was wearing. Everything else was ashed. No message was sent to Earth. No report was filed. As far as the Galactic Concord was concerned, Kira-chan had simply ceased to exist. In his office, Principal Velthrix returned to his work. He did not think about the human girl again. He did not worry about consequences. He should have, because on Earth, when a child goes missing, humans do not forget. They do not move on. They search until they find answers. And sometimes, when they find those answers, empires fall. 3 weeks passed on Earth. Maria Chun stood at the window of her small apartment in Singapore, holding her phone in her hand. She had called her daughter 6 times today. 6 times, the call had failed to connect. This was not normal. Kira always answered. Kira always called home on Sundays, no matter how busy she was with her studies. Beside her, David Chun sat at the kitchen table with his laptop open. He was searching through every database he could find, looking for information about the Galactic Integration Academy, looking for any news about his daughter. Something is wrong, Maria said. She had been saying this for 3 days now. Something has happened to her. David nodded. He did not argue anymore. At first, he had told his wife not to worry. Communication across space was difficult. Maybe the relay stations were down. Maybe Kira was busy with exams. But 3 weeks was too long. Even he could feel it now. The cold fear that something terrible had happened. I'm calling UNSAD. He said. UNSAD was the United Nations Stellar Affairs Division. They handled all matters involving humans in space. They were the ones who had helped Kira get her scholarship to the academy. They were the ones who had promised to keep her safe. The phone rang twice before a woman answered. Her voice was professional and calm. Stellar Affairs Division. How can I help you? My name is David Chun. My daughter, Kira Chun, is studying at the Galactic Integration Academy. We haven't heard from her in 3 weeks. We're worried something has happened to her." There was a pause on the other end. Then the woman spoke again, and her voice was different now. "Careful. Mr. Chun, please hold. I'm transferring you to our missing persons department." The word hit David like a punch to the chest. Missing persons? He had not wanted to think of it that way. But now it was real. His daughter was missing. 12 hours later, a report was filed. 48 hours after that, UNSAD sent an official request to the Galactic Concord's Education Bureau, asking for information about Kira Chun. The response came back in the form of a single document. A form letter with no signature and no personal message. It said that Kira Chun had been administratively separated from the Academy for safety compliance reasons. It did not say where she was. It did not say what had happened to her. It did not even say if she was alive. When Ambassador Yuki Tanaka read this letter, she set it down on her desk very gently. She looked at it for a long time without speaking. Her assistant, a young man named James, watched her nervously from across the room. Yuki Tanaka was 63 years old. She had survived the Jakarta collapse of 2089, when half a city fell into the sea. She had negotiated Earth's membership in the Galactic Concord 15 years ago, when most species thought humans were too primitive to join. She had faced down politicians, criminals, and alien warlords. Nothing frightened her anymore. But right now, looking at this piece of paper, she felt something very close to rage. "James," she said quietly, "please schedule a meeting with the High Arbiters of the Galactic Concord. Tell them it concerns a missing Earth citizen. Tell them I will not take no for an answer." The meeting took place 1 week later in the Grand Chamber of the Concord Administrative Hub. The room was enormous, built for species of all sizes. Light fell from windows made of crystal. The walls were covered with symbols representing every member world. The High Arbiters sat at a curved table at the front of the room. There were 7 of them, each from a different major species. They looked down at Ambassador Tanaka with expressions ranging from boredom to mild curiosity. To them, she was just another representative from a minor species. Earth had only been a member for 15 years. They were still newcomers, still unimportant. Yuki Tanaka stood before him with perfect posture. She wore a simple black suit. She carried only a small datapad. She did not look like a threat. "Ambassador Tanaka," said the Chief Arbiter, a massive creature covered in gray scales. "You requested this meeting to discuss a missing citizen. We have reviewed the case. The student Kira Chun was removed from the academy according to proper protocol. There was no issue here. With respect," Yuki said, "I disagree." She lifted her datapad and began to read. Kira Chun, age 17. Academic record at the Galactic Integration Academy. Exemplary. She received top marks in galactic history, xenobiology, and interspecies communication. She received 17 letters of recommendation from her classmates, praising her kindness, her willingness to help others, and her positive attitude. She looked up at the arbiters. "I also have here a detailed analysis of Protocol 7, the regulation used to expel her. This protocol was designed to handle biological contamination from non-sapient organisms. It was never intended to be used against a thinking, feeling person." The Chief Arbiter waved one massive hand. "These are minor details." The principal of the academy acted within his authority. "Then where is she?" The question hung in the air. The arbiters looked at each other uncomfortably. "We do not know," admitted one of them, a being made of shifting light. "The records show she was transported to a way station. After that, there is no information." Yuki nodded slowly. "So, you took a child from her school. You destroyed her belongings. You dumped her on a way station in the middle of nowhere. You did not notify her parents. You did not notify her government. And now you do not even know if she is alive or dead. She set down her datapad. Under Section 9 of the Galactic Concord Charter, any member species has the right to file an unlawful disappearance claim if one of their citizens vanishes under suspicious circumstances. I am filing that claim now. The chamber went silent. The arbiters stared at her with wide eyes. You have 30 standard days to produce Kira-chan, alive and well, Yuki continued. If you fail to do so, Earth will consider this an act of hostility against our species. We will respond accordingly. The chief arbiter laughed. It was not a kind laugh. Ambassador, please. You are a young species. A small species. You have no fleet. You have no military power. What exactly do you think you can do to us? Yuki Tanaka smiled. It was the same smile that Kira had given Principal Velfrix. The same smile that all humans share when they are pushed too far. I suppose, she said softly, you will have to wait and see. She turned and walked out of the chamber. Behind her, the arbiters whispered to each other in worried voices. None of them understood what had just happened, but they would learn. Humanity did not make threats. Humanity made promises, and they always kept them. The way station called Drift 7 was not a nice place to live. It floated in the empty space between star systems, a collection of old metal and broken dreams. The people who lived there were the ones who had nowhere else to go. Criminals, refugees, outcasts, and now, one human girl who had been thrown away like garbage. Kira-chan had been on Drift 7 for almost a month now. In that time, she had learned many things. She learned that she could not call home. The communication systems on the station were controlled by a gang leader named Rex, and Rex charged prices that Kira could never afford. She learned that she could not buy a ticket off the station. She had no money, no identification, nothing but the academy uniform. She was still wearing dot. She also learned that being from a death world had certain advantages. On her third day at the station, a shop owner offered her a job. He needed someone to carry cargo from the docking bays to the storage rooms. The boxes were heavy, too heavy for most species to lift alone. But Kira could carry them easily. Earth's gravity was strong, and her muscles had grown up fighting against it. What seemed impossible to others was just exercise to her. On her 10th day, a different opportunity came. A merchant ship had a problem with vermin in its cargo hold. Small creatures with too many legs and poisonous bites. Most pest controllers refused to go near them. But Kira borrowed a thick jacket and a pair of gloves, and she went into the hold alone. The creatures bit her 3 times. It hurt, but she did not die. The poison that would kill other species only gave her a fever for 1 night. The merchant paid her well. He also spread the word. There was a human on Drift 7, a Deathworlder. She was tough, she was reliable, and she would do jobs that no one else would touch dot by the end of her first month. Kira had enough money to rent a small room in the lower levels of the station. It was not comfortable. The walls were thin, and the air recyclers made strange noises at night. But it was hers. She had earned it. Sometimes, late at night, she would lie on her narrow bed and think about home. She thought about her mother's cooking. She thought about her father's bad jokes. She thought about her friends at the academy, especially little Fenry with the soft fur and big eyes. She wondered if anyone was looking for her. She wondered if anyone even cared dot she did not cry. Crying used water and energy, and she could not afford to waste either one. But sometimes, when she was very tired, she would whisper into the darkness, "I'm still here. I'm still alive. Please come find me." No one answered, but far away, across the vastness of space, Someone was listening. The search for Kira-chan had begun quietly. UNSAD sent official requests to every station and outpost in the sector. They filed reports with the Galactic Concord. They did everything through proper channels. It was not enough. So humans did what humans have always done when their children are in danger. They helped each other. It started with the traders. Human merchant ships traveled throughout the galaxy, carrying goods from one world to another. When they heard about the missing girl, they started asking questions at every port they visited. Have you seen a human? Young, dark hair, brown eyes? She might be using a different name. Then the tourists joined in. Humans love to travel. They went everywhere, saw everything, talked to everyone. Now they had a purpose beyond sightseeing. Every human traveler became a searcher, showing Kira's picture to anyone who would look. Then the workers. Humans had spread throughout the galaxy in the 15 years since Earth joined the Concord. They worked in factories, hospitals, restaurants, and offices. They worked on space stations and colony ships and mining platforms. And every single one of them received the same message. One of our own is missing. Keep your eyes open. The network grew like roots spreading through soil. Thousands of humans, then tens of thousands, all connected by a single purpose. They did not have a fleet. They did not have weapons. But they had something more powerful. They had each other. On Drift 7, Kira heard rumors. Strange stories about humans asking questions throughout the sector. About a search effort that had no official name but seemed to be everywhere at once. She did not connect these stories to herself. Why would she? She was nobody. Just one girl, lost and forgotten. She was working as a bodyguard now. A nervous merchant named Tosk had hired her to protect him during his business meetings. Tosk was a Velthani, a species that looked like walking flowers with too many petals. He was easily frightened, but he paid well, and he treated Kira with respect. "You are very calm," Tosk said to her one day. "Other species become anxious in dangerous situations. But you do not." Kira shrugged. "I grew up on Earth. My planet tries to kill humans every day. Storms, earthquakes, wild animals, diseases. After a while, you just stop being scared." Tosk shivered, his petals rustling. "I cannot imagine living in such a place." "It's home," Kira said simply. "I miss it." Meanwhile, in a small ship traveling through the sector, a Fenari named Fenri was crying. The little moth-like creature had lived with guilt for weeks now. Fenri remembered the day Kira was taken away. Remembered watching the security officers drag her down the corridor. Remembered doing nothing to help. Fenri had tried to tell the teachers what happened. Had tried to explain that Kira was not dangerous, that she had only been trying to help. But no one listened. No one cared. And then Kira was gone, and everyone pretended she had never existed at all. When Fenri heard about the human search effort, something changed. Here was a chance to make things right. A chance to help the person who had helped Fenri when no one else would. It took time to find the right people. Time to convince them that Fenri knew something useful. But finally, Fenri found a human trader at a small station. The trader listened to Fenri's story with careful attention. When Fenri said the word Drift 7, the trader's eyes went wide. "Are you sure?" the trader asked. "She was taken to Drift 7? Fenri nodded. "I saw the transport order. I remember the name." The trader reached out and touched Fenri's small furry hand. "Thank you. Thank you more than I can say. You may have just saved her life." The message traveled fast. From the trader to UNSAD. From UNSAD to Ambassador Tanaka. From Ambassador Tanaka to a ship that was already on its way. On Drift 7, Kira-chan finished her bodyguard shift and walked back to her small room. She did not know that help was coming. She did not know that the galaxy was about to change. She just lay down on her bed, closed her eyes, and whispered her nightly prayer into the darkness. "I'm still here. I'm still alive. Please come find me." This time, someone was about to answer. It was day 29 of the ultimatum. Principal Velthrix sat in his office at the Galactic Integration Academy, feeling confident. His superiors at the Concord had told him not to worry. Earth was bluffing. The humans were a young species with no power and no influence. They could make all the threats they wanted. Nothing would happen. He was reviewing applications for next year's class when his communication device began to flash. Then it flashed again. Then again. Within seconds, it was flashing constantly. Alerts piling on top of alerts, all marked urgent. He opened the first message. It was from the station supply department. Several human-owned companies had announced routine audits of their shipping contracts. All deliveries to Concord-affiliated stations would be delayed until the audits were complete. This included food, medicine, and equipment. The second message was worse. Human-operated medical stations throughout the sector were reviewing their patient eligibility criteria. Non-human species might experience longer wait times for treatment. This was not discrimination, the announcement said. Just standard procedure. The third message made Velthrix feel cold inside his crystal skin. The Human Entertainment Network, which produced the most popular shows in the galaxy, had begun running stories about injustice in the Concord's education system. They did not mention Velthrix by name. They did not need to. Everyone was talking about the human girl who had been thrown away like trash. More messages arrived. Mining contracts under review. Banking relationships being reconsidered. Scientific exchanges postponed. None of it was illegal. None of it violated any treaty. The humans were simply choosing to do business differently, and it was working. Velthrix had not understood until now how deeply humans had woven themselves into the galaxy's economy. They were everywhere. In 15 short years, they had made themselves essential. And now they were showing exactly what that meant. At the Concord Administrative Hub, the High Arbiters were in a panic. Their communication devices were also flooded with messages. Complaints from every sector. Demands for action. The Chief Arbiter, the great-scaled creature who had laughed at Ambassador Tanaka, was not laughing anymore. "Find the girl," he ordered. "Find her now." But it was already too late. On Drift 7, Kira Chun was in a cargo bay, surrounded by a group of young Velthani workers. She was teaching them a game called poker. It was a simple card game from Earth, based on luck and bluffing. The Velthani were terrible at it. Their petals changed color when they were nervous, making it impossible for them to hide their feelings. "You have to keep calm," Kira explained. "Don't let anyone see what you're thinking." One of the young workers looked at her with admiration. "How do humans do it? How do you hide your emotions so well?" Kira smiled sadly. "Practice. Lots and lots of practice." She was about to deal another hand when she heard footsteps behind her. Heavy footsteps, moving fast. She turned around, ready for trouble. A woman stood in the doorway of the cargo bay. She was middle-aged, with tired eyes and messy hair. Behind her were several other people, including 2 wearing medical uniforms. They were all human. Kira stared at them. She could not speak. She could not breathe. The woman stepped forward. Tears were running down her face. "Kira? Kira-chan? Mom?" Maria Chun crossed the cargo bay in 3 steps and wrapped her arms around her daughter. Behind her, David Chun was crying too hard to walk. He stumbled forward and joined the embrace, holding his family like he would never let go. "We found you," Maria whispered. "Oh God, baby, we found you." Kira felt something break open inside her chest. All the strength she had built up over the past month, all the walls she had constructed to keep herself going, suddenly collapsed. She was not a survivor anymore. She was not a bodyguard or a cargo hauler or a pest controller. She was just a girl who wanted to go home. The Velthani workers watched in silence. They had never seen humans cry before. They had thought Deathworlders were supposed to be tough, impossible to hurt. But here was Kira, the strongest person they had ever met, sobbing in her mother's arms like a child. One of the workers leaned over to another and whispered, "They came all this way for her. Across the whole galaxy. Just for one person." The other worker nodded slowly. "Their species is strange. But perhaps that is what makes them strong." The reunion was recorded by the ship's crew and sent to Earth within minutes. From Earth, it spread to the Human Entertainment Network. Within 2 hours, everyone in the galaxy had seen it. A young human girl, thin and tired but alive, reunited with her parents. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. At the Concord Administrative Hub, the High Arbiters called an emergency session. They watched the video in silence. When it ended, they looked at each other with fear in their eyes. "We must do something," said the Arbiter made of shifting light. "The humans will never forget this." The Chief Arbiter nodded grimly. He pressed a button on his console. "Bring me Principal Velthrix." Velthrix arrived expecting protection. He arrived expecting his superiors to stand behind him, to defend the protocol he had followed. Instead, he found himself standing alone before the 7 most powerful beings in the Galactic Concord. "Principal Velthrix," the Chief Arbiter said, "you have caused a diplomatic crisis of unprecedented scale. Your actions have damaged the Concord's reputation throughout the galaxy. You have turned a minor species into our most dangerous enemy." "I followed protocol," Velthrix said. His voice was not as steady as he wanted it to be. "I did nothing wrong. You were careless. You were cruel. And you were stupid." The Chief Arbiter leaned forward. "You are hereby removed from your position. Your teaching credentials are revoked. The Academy will be placed under review. And you will personally apologize to Kira Chun and her family." Velthrix felt his crystal skin crack with stress. "Apologize? To a Deathworlder? To a person you treated like an animal." The Chief Arbiter's eyes were cold. "The humans have taught us something important today. They do not have ships or weapons, but they have something more powerful. They care about each other. Every single one of them. And when you hurt one, you answer to all." The Arbiter waved his hand in dismissal. "Get out of my sight." Velthrix stumbled out of the chamber, broken and humiliated. His career was over. His reputation was destroyed. All because of one human girl. But the story was not over yet. Because Ambassador Yuki Tanaka was not finished. She appeared on screens throughout the galaxy, standing straight and calm, her eyes as sharp as knives. "The Galactic Concord has taken the first steps toward justice," she said. "But steps are not enough. We will be watching. We will be waiting. And if any of our children are ever treated this way again, there will be no warnings. No ultimatums. Just consequences." She paused and looked directly into the camera. "Remember this day. Remember what humans do for each other. And remember that we do not forget." The transmission ended. Throughout the galaxy, billions of beings sat in silence, thinking about what they had seen, thinking about the small, young species that had just proven itself more dangerous than any fleet. Not because humans were violent, but because they were loyal. 1 year had passed since Kira-chun came home. In that year, many things had changed. The Galactic Integration Academy had new leadership. New rules had been written. New protections had been put in place for students from all species. They called them the Chun Reforms, named after the girl who had survived what no one should have to survive. Kira had spent months recovering, not from physical wounds, though she had those too, but from the deeper damage the kind that does not show on the surface. She had nightmares sometimes. Dreams where she was back on Drift 7, alone and forgotten, calling for help that never came. But slowly, with the help of her family and friends, she had healed. She had finished her education on Earth, studying xenobiology and interspecies relations. She had given interviews and speeches, telling her story to anyone who would listen. She had become something she never expected to be, a symbol dot, and now, on a bright morning 1 year after her rescue, Kira Chen walked through the doors of the Galactic Integration Academy once again. She was 18 years old now, officially an adult by both human and Concord law. She wore a simple uniform, dark blue with silver buttons. On her collar was a pin shaped like Earth, small and blue and beautiful. She was not here as a student. She was here as Earth's first educational liaison, a position created because of her. Her job was to make sure no student from any world would ever be treated the way she had been treated. The halls of the academy looked different now, brighter somehow, more welcoming. There were posters on the walls with messages in dozens of languages. Every student matters. Different is not dangerous. We're stronger together. Kira walked slowly, looking at everything. She remembered running down these corridors on her first day, so excited to be here. She remembered the fear in the other students' eyes when they saw her. She remembered standing in Principal Velthrick's office, hearing words that would change her life forever. That office was different now, too. It had been converted into a counseling center, a place where students could come to talk about their problems. The door was always open. There was a small sign next to it that said, "You are not alone." Kira smiled when she saw it. A familiar voice called her name. She turned and saw a small moth-like creature flying toward her on delicate wings. Fenry landed on the ground in front of her, big eyes shining with joy. "Kira, you came back." Kira knelt down so they were at the same height. "Of course I came back. I had to see my favorite Funari again." Fenry made a happy sound and pressed into Kira's arms for a hug. The little creature had grown in the past year, stronger, more confident. Fenry was not afraid anymore. "I'm your assistant now," Fenry said proudly. "The Academy assigned me to help you. I hope that's okay." "It's perfect," Kira said. "I couldn't ask for anyone better." They walked together through the academy, and Kira saw how much things had changed. Students from different species were talking to each other, laughing together, studying together. A group of Mulvari were having lunch with a group of Krethbani. A Velthani was teaching a human game to a circle of younger students. "It's not perfect," Fenry said, noticing Kira's expression. "There are still problems. Some species still don't trust each other. Some students still get bullied. But it's better. Much better than before." "Better is good," Kira said. "Better is a start." In the main hall, a large crowd had gathered. Students and teachers from every species, all waiting to see the famous human who had returned. When Kira entered, they fell silent. She could feel their eyes on her, curious and uncertain. She walked to the center of the hall and looked around at all the different faces. Some of them were scared of her. She could see it in the way they held themselves, in the way they avoided meeting her eyes. They had heard stories about Deathworlders. They thought she was dangerous. "Hello," she said simply. "My name is Kira-chan. Some of you know my story. Some of you don't. But I'm not here to talk about the past. I'm here to talk about the future." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "When I was expelled from this academy, I was scared and alone. I thought no one cared about me. I thought I had been forgotten." She smiled softly. "I was wrong. My family came for me. My species came for me. Thousands of humans I had never met dropped everything to search for one lost girl." She looked at Fenry, who was standing at the edge of the crowd. "And someone else helped me too. A Fenari who barely knew me, who risked everything to tell the searchers where I was. Without Fenri, I might never have been found. Fenri's fur blushed pink with embarrassment, but the little creature stood tall and proud. That's what I want to teach you, Kira continued. It doesn't matter what species you are. It doesn't matter what planet you come from. What matters is how you treat each other. What matters is standing up for people who need help. What matters is caring about someone besides yourself. She took a deep breath. Humans aren't special because we come from a death world. We aren't special because we're strong or tough or hard to kill. We're special because we never stop looking for our people. We never leave anyone behind. And that's something any species can learn to do. The hall was quiet. Then, slowly, someone started to clap. Then another person. Then another. Soon the whole room was applauding, students and teachers alike, cheering for the human girl who had come back to make things right. Later that day, Kira was walking through a quiet corridor when she heard small footsteps behind her. She turned and saw a young Molvari standing there, trembling slightly. It was the same species that had once run away from her in terror. "Miss Chun?" the young Molvari said nervously. "Can I ask you something?" Kira knelt down to their eye level. "Of course. What is it? Is it true that you come from a death world? A planet that tries to kill you?" "Yes, it's true." The Molvari shivered. "Are you scary?" Some of the other students say Deathworlders are scary. Kira thought about this for a moment. She thought about everything she had been through. The expulsion. The survival. The long journey home. She thought about what it meant to be human. "We're only scary," she said gently, "to people who hurt the ones we love." The Molvari considered this. Then, very slowly, they extended one of their tentacles toward Kira. "I learned this is how humans say hello. Is that right?" Kira felt tears prick at her eyes. She reached out and wrapped her hand around the small tentacle. "That's right," she said. "It's called a handshake." They shook hands there in the quiet corridor, a human and a Molvari, two species learning to understand each other. It was a small moment. But small moments were how things changed. That evening, Kira stood at a window overlooking the stars. Fenri stood beside her, and together they watched the ships coming and going from the station. "Do you think it will last?" Fenri asked. "All these changes?" Kira nodded slowly. "Maybe not forever. But that's okay. Nothing lasts forever. What matters is that we keep trying. We keep building. We keep reaching out to each other." She put her hand on the cold glass of the window. "My species has a saying. It goes, 'Today we might fail, but tomorrow we try again. And the day after that. And the day after that. Until we get it right.'" Fenri made a thoughtful sound. "That seems very tiring." Kira laughed. It felt good to laugh. "It is. But it's also very human." She looked out at the stars, at the vast galaxy full of species who were still learning to live together. There was so much work to do. So many problems to solve. So many bridges to build. But for the first time in a long time, she felt hope. Because she was not alone anymore. She had her family. She had Fenri. She had all the humans spread throughout the galaxy who had searched for her when she was lost. And she had this. A second chance. A new beginning. A chance to make things better for everyone who came after her. The galaxy was big and strange, and sometimes cruel. But humans were stubborn. They did not give up. They did not forget their own. And they never, ever stopped fighting for the ones they loved. That was what it meant to be human. That was what made them strong.